You know, it pleases me that hearing this song is taking on another meaning thanks to me. Come on, song, you are my child now. So this is what happens in Fire Emblem Conquest. This game takes place somewhere? In some time before Awakening, but also way before Awakening? Who really knows? What you can just call everything a realm of time doesn't really matter. Well, in this realm with foxes, wolves, and planets? Am I playing Star Fox? This shit looks like the Lilith system. So the game starts out with a My Unit creation screen, where after you pick between a young, caped, onesie-wearing boy with spiky hair, or a man-child who lives in his parents' basement, a young girl who is probably only here for the shipping, or not using male corn, or a former high school valedictorian who got a boyfriend, who lost it all and just became a stripper trying to pay for her cocaine addiction after dropping out of college. Keep on keeping on, Josie. We think about you. Sometimes. After waking up from a nonsensical fever dream having to do with people who Corrin has never seen in his life yet, he's woken up by his posse. A grocery list of boring cliches and archetypes. And after some royal cockstroking, the game then introduces you to Corrin's Norian siblings. Camus, a royal lemming who once again makes an appearance in Fire Emblem, after losing his memory and changing his name yet again, this time to Xander. Leon, the formerly unemployed Resident Evil protagonist who is now reclaiming his role as a snarky know-it-all whose personal skill pretty much screams, "I hate the lower class." Camilla, a one-dimensional, walking, talking set of sweater dumplings whose boob strap is more or less a representation of where she'd like Corrin's penis to be at all times, and Elise, an annoying, spoiled brat lolly whose only redeeming quality seems to be shattering the suspension of disbelief that you're in a Fire Emblem game every time she opens her dumb mouth. And after some serious My Unit coddling again, the gang heads to their castle, Krakenberg, located in the Norian capital, Mordor. And oh my god, they built their kingdom in a fucking crater. Like, what the fuck? Who does that? Seriously, who builds a kingdom in a crater? I bet Garen's pizza delivery guy must hate himself. After making it to Castle Cracker Barrel, Grumpy Santa orders Corrin to fight and kill some Hoshiden captives to prove himself as a legit Norian errand boy. And after Corrin defeats them, but then going against Garen's orders to kill them, Garen yells at him, then Leon wittingly uses his ecology textbook to warp them, and to trick Garen into thinking they actually died. Because, you know, trees do that. Add teleportation onto the list of things video game trees can do, next to fighting, talking, and not being trees. After Corrin lets the dogs out, and tells Rinka that he hopes that the next time they meet, it could be his friends, she and Kaze dip without so much as saying a thank you. But honestly, it's probably for the best, because my god, the second you have to start working with Rinka, you'll wish you can just get deported. Afterwards, Garen gives Corrin the Gonglari, a sword literally made out of Isis, to wield during his first mission to suppress a conflict at Nor's border. And joining them on this mission is Thumbs, a former Norian sex dungeon prisoner now turned right hand to King Garen, who kinda got used to the whole leather and lack of pants thing. And so Corrin heads to the bottomless canyon. So after Hans realizes that there's actually another hidden element in the weapon triangle of fates, he falls to Hoshiden grunt workers, then after the battle betrays the gang and sends Gunther to the bottomless canyon. Aroused by this attack, Corrin stiffens up and loses control, frightening Hans and making him admit that Garen told him to do it. Then the Gonglari, I guess, Olympic dives into the bottomless canyon, whereupon Lilith, Corrin's other, less significant harem member, whooshes in to save Corrin and bring him to space-time. Is this scene jarring and random as fuck? Yeah, but how else are you gonna find a place to bang your sister? Ah well, at least this magical nonsense doesn't affect the story that much, unlike some other bullshit. So after smoking some wicked Hoshiden Kush with his pet fish, he gets whooshed back to the canyon. Then is immediately knocked out by Rinka and brought to her house against his will, where Corrin meets some of his long-lost Hoshiden family, aka Ryoma, a former Saiyan warrior who, after failing to bring back one kid home, hopped in a time capsule and somehow ended up in Hoshido and became its high prince to try again, and Japanese Emerin, who ends up going exactly nowhere, just as you'd expect her not to. Then Emerin drops a bomb on Corrin and tells him that she's his mother. Yes, the albino, pointy-eared, onesie-wearing, shoeless boy who is forced to live away from his so-called siblings learns that he is actually not blood related to them. Wow, Corrin, there's Dents, then there's China. Newsflash, you're the second thing. Then after news that there are faceless around, this game's equivalent to zombies, they find and rescue Honoka, a blander-than-life Powerpuff Girl, except instead of an accidental mixture of chemical X, it's a smoking problem. And Sakura, a young princess who, despite never actually seeing Corrin in her life, still acts like it for the entire game, who cries so much that she makes Naomi look like Rampart in comparison. From Legion of Faceless, because Sakura sprained her ankle? Sakura, your sister's on a flying mount, just hop on it and fly away from danger, fuck. I guess this cutscene would be more logical if Honoka just didn't exist. Fancy that. So back in Hoshido, and after 3 minutes of solid mother-to-son bonding, Corrin meets Azura, a questionably motivated at best, blue-haired songstress with growth rates that can only be described as a walking, talking, dancing fat man. Sometime later, Corrin meets Takumi, a laser bow-wielding fairy boy whose only redeeming qualities are his broken Yumi and his uncanny ability to remind me of infinitely cooler ponytailed archers. While in the city square, the Gunglari, yeah, the sword that jumped into the earth like a Red Bull astronaut, suicide bombs and kills Queen Mikoto. Man, Fire Emblem sure is progressive. I mean, gay marrying is fine and all, but now moms are being killed for the plot instead of the dads. It's 2016, I guess. Korin, triggered by his mother's death, briefly turns into a shonen protagonist. He then dragon rages and defeats the hoodlum. And this somehow triggers Korin to have all of his memories returned to him, because dragons and magic, you know, mystical shit.
Hi, Dad. Hi, Santa. He gave me the gift of adoption. Dude, check out those cape physics.
That looks wonderful.
So after assessing the sheer amount of damage that spans a giant radius that conveniently did not injure, let alone touch any of the important characters, including Sakura, Rinka, Kaze, you know, people who couldn't possibly withstand this, Yukimura explains that Mikoto herself had predicted her death to happen. But not when, how, or where. So it sure was damn convenient that it was in the center of town, where I guess the Yato was, hiding on top of a statue in the middle of it. How did the sword even get here? It wasn't on the map where we just fought. Did it fall from the sky or something? Or was it conveniently placed here by the writers because they were too lazy and just said, fuck it. Here's your falchion, Korin. Man, remember in the old games where the heroes had to actually earn their legendary weapon through trial and tribulation? You know, like when Alm had to travel through Duma's lair by himself and fight literal hordes of monsters that were protecting the sword to get there? Or when Ephraim and Erica were able to get this Sieglind, Seagull, whatever fucking German bullshit is pronounced as. You get the point. Getting these weapons meant accomplishing something. Whereas this game kinda does this.
He exists?
Oh, it floats on its own.
I'm just gonna save you the trouble. Here you go. You seem like a good Marisu character. I'm just gonna...
You seem like a good guy. I like you.
The blade has chosen Mangs.
Then, despite Azura never seeing a dragon in her life, just has a dragonstone on deck, because, you know, you can never be too prepared. Oh god, I'm 2 pages into the script already. Well, this video is probably going to be really long, but thankfully the actual campaign is mostly filler till chapter 20. So after Korin drops Hoshido, and consequently earns a more notorious reputation than Kevin Durant's, in hopes that he can end the war his way, and try to discover why Garen ordered the attack, but not ask Xander why he lied to him his entire life, Korin's first mission as Santa's little elf is to stop a rebellion from forming in the Ice Tribe village. They make it to Canada, where Felicia then decides that it's a good idea to run. So Felicia runs off with like Elise, herself, and Silas's horse, I guess, and consequently gets separated from Korin and Silas. Korin gets so cold he falls asleep. I'm sorry, but just being cold doesn't make you fall asleep. Trust fam, I'm Canadian. Hypothermia doesn't work like this. So Whitebread wakes up in yet another bed in another village. Then Elise arrives with Felicia and spills the beans about the whole suppression thing. After Korin defeats, but miraculously doesn't end up killing anyone, Kilma decides that he's cool with Korin. Korin is then tasked to go to Notre Sagesse. Yeah, that's right, I can pronounce some things, assholes. To bring it under Norian rule, and on the way there they find Azura again, who's just inexplicably here because the Hoshiden suddenly decided that they hate Azura because she's originally Norian. And they brought her all the way to Fort Dragonfall. Look, Azura needs to join you somehow, okay? So after you presumably kill a bunch of Hoshidans and then capture Haitaka, I mean, unless you like getting ass dominated without being lubed up first, Camilla comes to your aid to help you fend off Takumi's wrath. And after Takumi finishes his Korin bitching, he and his entire injured but not dead army retreat.
Because Korin soldiers do not harm those who do not seek to harm them. Right.
Okay. Korin finds out that the Hoshiden army had kidnapped the Rainbow Sage and carted him to Mount Sagesse, which is touted to be an impossibly hard task considering that apparently anyone who tries to hike Mount Sagesse quote-unquote faces the ultimate test of grit, nothing but heartache, and that most never make it back.
Man, I feel like I traverse this easily since my driveway at home looks exactly like this.
Sure game, whatever you say. Korin then defeats Honoka and tells her to escape with all of her friends alive because Korin's soldiers do not harm those who do not seek harm to them. And Kaze comes back and asks Korin if he's really down to end the war quote-unquote peacefully. Whereupon Korin confirms that, why yes, he is a virgin's Batman, and Korin, being the stupidly naive kid that he is, accepts a guy who tried to kill him twice into his ranks, without any interjections by Camilla or Gunter or Azura. I mean, I guess Gunter maybe, because, you know, the whole Revelations thing. So the Rainbow Sage sows the seed to the Yato, and prophesies that after he unites with another Norian hero, his sword will digivolve into the Grim Yato. But wait, there's more. An illusion of Yago appears just in time to tell Korn to kill the Rainbow Sage or else Garen would kill him for treason. Not any time beforehand, apparently. Either Korn is outrageously, absurdly, infinitely lucky that Yago only decided to poof in this exact moment after the battle somehow, or Korn is outrageously, absurdly, infinitely lucky that an entire Hoshidan army led by fucking Honoka escaped without Yago seeing it. I guess Yago's blind spot from his mask got the better of him, eh? Never mind the fact that Honoka, Setsuna, Rinka, Kaze, and fucking Azama and 25 other Hoshidan soldiers just completed the trek and ended up at the very end of the Rainbow Sage's temple. Doesn't this count as receiving the Rainbow Sage's blessings? Or I wonder why Takumi and Honoka never even bothered to do this shit on their own time. I mean, fuck, Camilla got up here just fine and she's carrying 50 cubic tons of TNA. Kinda makes you wonder if Honoka should even be here. So the Rainbow Sage blesses Korn, dies, and then Milquetoast almost drowns in his own tears, but sadly survives. Then the gang returns to the Krusty Kraken, where Azeri meets her dad for the first time in forever, and despite Korn thinking that Garen was acting colder than usual, didn't come off any colder than this.
We have a dirty Hoshidian spy on our hands. I see. Sadly, I must agree. Well, I sure made the right choice coming back, cast. I gotta say. Yes, Sander, kill Mangs. That's an order.
Father, I came back. Get out. Was I wrong then?
So the gang heads to Chev to do more grunt work, and in Chev, Takumi no-scopes Elise but doesn't style hard enough for a headshot, so they fight it out instead. And after another Korn angst session, the gang heads to Circensia, because Garen apparently likes it when girls dance for him. I mean, why else do you think Garen has so many kids? The guy never pulls out after taking dancers home. So while Azura randomly goes missing, a mysterious, pasty-white, Azura-haired dancer with a surprisingly Azura-like voice and figure tries to dance a special dance for Garen to try to expose him for the monster he has truly become. Well, her dance doesn't work, and after some royal head scratching as to who the fuck was just dancing there, Garen gets grumpy and orders Korn to find and kill every single singer in Nestra. Or maybe Garen just needs to get laid. The guy had like 3 wives, maybe he's just really thirsty like all the time. I vote Camilla take one for the team. Maybe then she'd actually be relevant to the plot. You know what, I'd actually bet on that working. Shit, this guy literally is the definition of flaccid now. I mean, yeah, it sounds kind of fucked by our standards, but when is Fates going to start acting like the Japanese game it technically is? After some unfitting, wise words from Leo, a common trend in this game, they devise a plan to protect the dancers, and then Leo's biology textbook and Korn's toy sword evolve. Later, in the midst of trying to find dancers, Korn has time to reflect on how stupid he was for helping Hans kill all those guys. Then he hears Azura singing, tries to find her, and gets flushed down a toilet. Huh, you know, this cutscene looks vaguely like that teen pregnancy video I watched during sex ed back in junior high. Is this symbolism? So after fighting some invisible purple hazy soldiers, Korn and co jump off the land realm thing and back to where they came from. Then Azura shows Korn a crystal ball to reveal that Garen is not that human anymore. And then tells him that they need to put him on the Hoshidan throne in order to show his siblings that Garen truly is a fucking slime monster. Like, I get that Fates is inspired by Gaiden, but sheesh, this franchise only has room for one slime monster, and it isn't Garen. You gotta love how the story just pegs itself here by saying Leo can view the crystal ball too. Kinda makes you wonder why she didn't do that, or do anything like she did in Revelations. So the crystal ball conveniently shatters and Azura tells Korn about the notorious Vala curse, aka the contrived, poorly thought out, yet oddly specific magical plot device created for the sole purpose of carrying on the story that otherwise would have been able to end the plot in its tracks. If I can't talk about Vala, can I just, like, write it down on a piece of paper? The game doesn't exactly say I can't, so yeah. Seems like an easy workaround for me. So after Xander makes a surprise appearance, Korn suddenly learns how to think on the fly and shit talks Yago for a bit. And finally, after 16-something chapters, not including the paralogs that freeze the whole Dusk Dawn Sky time limit thing in its tracks, the Golden State Warriors, now with their newest acquisition and their already OP as fuck team, head to the Eastern Conference Finals to face off against Hoshido. I bet you thought I was gonna make a Sixers reference this time, but I'm not. So they set sail to Hoshido, and after some dicking around in caves with Ryoma's retainers, they decide to take a break and rest at Izumo, where they meet Archduke Izana, who I'm pretty sure is just Elfin after taking an absolute ton of Molly. So Izana invites the Norian siblings to join his ongoing dinner party, but unbeknownst to them, the Hoshidan siblings are also invited. Then, after another Korn tug-of-war and a Crown Prince dick measuring contest, Izana transforms into Zola, some babbling, comically evil dipshit that squanders his own actually decently thought out plan, twice, by missing 2 hugely open opportunities to kill the now captured Hoshidan siblings. So instead of ending the war literally this second, Xander opts to rescue the captured Hoshiden royals by killing his own men. Because ending the war this way would be dishonorable. If by dishonorable you mean we can't take credit for this, then yeah, right on the money. Camus seriously must have gotten bonked in the head really hard this time around, because the only moral law in this route just seems to be anything goes unless Garen finds out. Although personally I think there are some other issues going on in this chapter. Like, why would the entire Hoshiden royal family attend a dinner during wartime? Or how come none of the Hoshiden retainers are anywhere to be found? Isn't it like their job or something? Or what possible bad thing could happen to Nor or Hoshido if they broke the pact in Izumo? Which other neutral country in this world is ballsy enough or existy enough to even fight Hoshido or Nor? How are two unpromoted Norian soldiers able to capture an unarmed Ryoma when Ryoma could easily disarm them? I mean, Elise got one-shotted by the most broken bow in the franchise and she walked it off just fine. And what does Leo exactly mean by tainting our kingdom's grand legacy anyway? Krakenberg has a good legacy? Don't they just go around conquering other countries, stealing girls and turning them into servants and generally just being ass baskets to everyone? Talk about Norian logic at its finest, am I right? And okay, fine, this is a game that is supposed to take place in medieval times and therefore relies on romantic themes and motivations, but you gotta forgive me here because it's pretty hard to parse between what's medieval and modern era when Izana is trolling the game saying love, peace, chicken grease. So after I guess betraying their own kingdom and trudging through two of the worst filler chapters Intelligent Systems has to offer, the gang makes it to the Eternal Staircase, the final frontier before they officially enter into Japan.
Then suddenly an absolute horde of Faceless summoned by Yago ambush Korrin's squad and hands down the most stressful Fire Emblem chapter ever crafted. So after watching Camilla Grey Club a bunch of Faceless, Korrin tries to book it to the entrance of Hoshido. But just as he's about to enter, he suffers from a plot nerf, and one more goon tries to fist him. What comes next is hysterical.
Could this be? Hey Lilith. Oh, what the? Lilith! Who told you? Who told you to leave?
Get out of space time.
I just someone as pure as Lilith has to die, that I might live. How can I go on knowing she's dead because of me? Oh my god.
What a stupid melodramatic scene.
I'm sorry to leave you in this place, but the path to peace is finally within reach.
What?
God, this scene is
You're
too
gonna
long.
leave her in the fucking
I
staircase?
know.
Oh my god, that scene never fails to make me laugh. So after a death scene that lasts for fucking ever, the plot finally goes somewhere. Not in a downward direction. In the motherland, they fight a crying ketchup bottle and end up capturing it, with Xander promising that he won't kill any Hoshiden prisoners of war. Then Lord Thumb arrives out of fucking nowhere again and starts killing Hoshidans again. And after passing through Jinya, they fight Takumi for a third time. And well, at this point it's just routine. Takumi says he'll beat him, then loses, cries, then gets another headache, but this time he jumps off the Great Wall of Japan. If only we could harness Takumi's undying angst. We'd probably cure the ozone layer or some shit. So Takumi jumps, and after some justice mumbo jumbo by Xander, which once again seems to just imply by birthright instead, the gang faces off against Honoka, who makes it really clear that she should be the game's one and only true Korrin sexual. And after the all-you-can-eat Sky Knight fuckfest, Honoka is forced to surrender and is told to play dead until the war is over. Then after some catty bitching, Korrin promises Honoka that Ryoma will be saved. But since Korrin's track record for keeping promises is less reliable than Pokemon Go servers, Ryoma dies.
But if we're being serious right now, this scene truly is a diamond in the rough. It really did seem like he was in a pretty shitty spot, no matter what he did. And I found this scene pretty touching actually. And by touching I mean seeing Korrin cry because he actually sucks was very satisfying karmic retribution. Way to go, Yago. You truly are the conniving dickhead Korrin deserves. But like all diamonds in the rough, there's still a fuck ton of coal to plow through.
So while Garen is on the phone with his imaginary dragon friend Anonkos, Yago finally tries to kill Korrin by himself. Well, you should have done that when he was unpromoted now, didn't you, Yago? Well, they finally kill Yago and Hans, and by they I mean Leo. And by Leo I mean Gazak, because he's the MVP and the best axe user in the entire franchise. Then Korrin finally, after 12 chapters of silence, tells his family about Garen becoming a choo-choo.
So they enter the Hoshiden throne room, and much to their disbelief, Garen turns into the slime monster, because the Hoshiden throne of truth reveals Garen's ultimate form. You know, not to harp on this totally well-written MacGuffin or anything, but you'd think with unlimited knowledge and foresight, Anonkos would have been able to see this coming and would have told Garen about the throne. Unless he didn't tell him on purpose so he could just keep dicking around and ignore. I guess when his ultimate goal is to anonymously bully two countries that don't even know he exists like an overglorified internet dragon troll, it's safe to say that his main motivation in all this was just that he was super bored. Anyways, the Siegfried promotes into a longer Siegfried, and the Grim Yato changes into Shadow of the Yato. Now with the LEDs shining brighter than a diamond, Korrin defeats Megamuck. Then suddenly, Betrayal, formerly known as Takumi, tries to exact his revenge on Korn for the fourth and last time. This time, however, Takumi delivers a lethal blow to him at point blank range. Just kidding. Korn wakes up in some heaven realm thing while being greeted by the people Korn is chiefly responsible for being dead. He then meets a non-angsty Takumi, and it turns out that he actually really likes him. My goodness, Korn is so perfect and charismatic that it takes literally being manipulated by a demon for anyone to have a legitimate reason to even consider disliking Korn. I'm still not entirely sure what the hell is even happening at this point right now, so I'm just going to chalk off this cutscene as a play birthright after this plug.
In truth, my soul left that body long ago.
Takumi, that's horrible. Is there nothing I can do?
Yeah, Mag's just like fucking cracking up as he's going on this exposition.
Corin, stop laughing at my list, okay? This is important. This is why I don't like you. You make fun of me all the time. Thank you, man.
Cheers.
I wonder what it would have been like to fight on the same side as you.
But now
Maybe you should buy birthright and see.
Dude, you haven't fed me in like a week. I've been waiting. If only I wasn't dead.
You fucking died to a faceless. Get the fuck out of here.
So, just like in Awakening, the game ass pulls again and plays the Friendship is Magic card, and Korn is pulled back into reality. Now Korn, blessed with even more plot armor than before, faces off against Betrayal and his legion of invisible soldiers whom Conquest players still don't really know who they are yet. And finally, after cheesing the final chapter by rescue skipping, evil Korn defeats evil Takumi, and Takumi's soul is finally at peace. With this literally meaningless war finally over, Korn heads back to Windmire. Xander becomes the king of Nor and grants every place under Norian rule as an independent nation. #Norgzit, leaving Hoshido as a war-ravaged country for pretty much no reason. Then Honoka, who should be pretty livid that Korn quite literally ruined her life for being responsible for wiping over half of her family, not to mention the possible thousands of soldiers and innocent civilians from the earth, not to mention leaving her with a bunch of property damage and forcing her to become the queen of a war-torn nation that she is pretty much unprepared to lead, remembers that this is Korn she's talking about, and shrugs off the entire war by A, saying Hoshido's fate is what it is, which pretty much confirms that Honoka gives absolutely no fuck so long as Korn is around, and B, befriending Camilla, who is a giant bitch to her the entire game. Because if we're being honest here, all Honoka really wants to do is ride Korn's majestic dragon junk like a feral Pegasus. Since, in the end, Korn is perfect. Korn did nothing wrong. He couldn't possibly do anything wrong. And you must be possessed by some kind of something if you harbor any sort of negative feelings towards the guy. But honestly, who gives a shit about this story? It's not even canon, so literally nothing matters in the end. Huh, you know what? Maybe Honoka had the right idea. And that's what happens in Fire Emblem Conquest. If you like this video, please leave a like and comment, and please subscribe if you haven't yet. It would definitely mean a lot. All the actual gameplay footage was provided by Mangs from our Conquest Let's Play. If you're curious as to see any more of that footage or whatever, click the link to his channel. We're also doing a Revelations Lunatic Let's Play that should be up on his channel in a couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. And if you want to be in the know for more videos like this, or get any news about me, or just follow me in general, follow my Twitter @Gast. With that all being said, I'm Gast, and thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.